Hi, this is Carla, and welcome back to There Might Be Cupcakes. And welcome, Princess, finally.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here. Yes, I never thought this day was gonna happen.
So tell my audience all about all your stuff.
Well, guys, I was about to say I'm a podcaster, but no, I'm not. I'm a person with a podcast. That's who I am. And really, that's really what I am. I'm a person with a podcast. And I have like channeled all my love of like looking back at nostalgic reality TV and sometimes scripted TV shows into this podcast called By Pumpkin. And there I get to just talk about TV, something I love growing up, I love right now. And I just get to be very excited. I think the last podcast I did, I was talking about my so-called life. This was on the Patreon. I was talking about my so-called life, but I started like, I re-listened to it. The joy in my voice as I describe the show My Two Dads to the audience. I am as the joy in my voice as I talk about Paul Reiser. But that's it. That's I get to channel all that energy, all that look back energy into this podcast that comes out once a week, and then there's a Patreon episode on Thursdays.
Well, my theory about my so-called life is that the band 30 Seconds to Mars is simply Jordan Catalano's frozen embryos, all grown up. That's my
Makes a lot of sense.
That's my head canon, and I'm sticking to it.
It makes that, you know what? It's now mine too.
Oh, and tell him before we get started on books, why your podcast is called By Pumpkin.
Oh, so my podcast is called that because I believe that modern reality TV can draw a straight line from Tiffany New York Pollard and from Flavor of Love, obviously, as if I have to tell you guys. And one of her most famous lines is when a girl named Pumpkin spits in her face because she's getting kicked off, and New York tries to beat her up. And then as security is production's making her leave, she just yells, "Bye, Pumpkin! Bye! Bye! I'll be here with my man! Bye!" And I just wanted to like she's the patron saint of the podcast.
I think it's the first reality TV show moment that they showed again and again in slow motion.
That's true. That's true. They did show it. I mean, we saw that spit happen a million times.
The loogie that changed the world.
Yeah, and so New York's brought something to reality TV that we just didn't have. I think Nene Leakes draws directly from her, and Nene Leakes is the first housewife. Bethany was the richest; she was the most successful at some point, but Nene was the first one that ever showed up in everyone knew who the fuck Nene was. Everybody was saying bloop, she crossed over. Remember, she crossed over. She was in all those Ryan Murphy things. Although I want to know what the fuck she did to Ryan Murphy that made him stop casting her. Like, what did she do to Ryan Murphy? Because he casts the same people every time, you know. So I mean, she's had an amazing downfall, but Nene is the person that holds up the Real Housewives franchise. That she was the one that made that our default reality TV for women. And I mean, she built the House of Bravo, to be honest. And so and that traces back to New York. And New York, I mean, Flavor of Love was a cultural moment.
Oh yeah. I remember when the Bravo channel showed like Eugene O'Neill plays. Like film.
Me too.
That's why it was called Bravo.
Me too. Yes. Me too. I remember that too. And it just, I mean, I think what happened is VH1 realized they could make a lot of fucking money. Well, Viacom in general, they can make a lot of money doing, like, these shows are so cheap to produce. You rent a mansion or a large or a McMansion for
Mm-hmm.
what, a month, audition some thirsty people, and then you just drive Flavor Flav there,
Mm-hmm.
and like, what do you're spending money on catering, like, and lights. It's so fucking cheap.
Yep.
This is not Game of Thrones, guys. It's cost 3 pennies to make, and then you can play it forever. You can spin people off over and over to other shows.
Yep.
I Love New York, Daisy of Love, Chance. What was the Real Chance of Love? When
Yeah.
Chance and Real, rest in peace,
Mm-hmm.
got to spin. Like, yeah, like, and so they realized they could make money there, and then with Bravo really started like getting on this beat with being Bobby Brown.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So, and they started making money that, and then they got a lot of other shows, and then they started the Real Housewives, which wasn't the same, but eventually they made their way to Atlanta, and this woman named Nene Leakes with her best white friend who's wearing a plastic wig just get on there and start talking about Big Papa and Tardy for the Party and Bloop and all these other things, and it caught fucking fire. Yeah.
Thank you, New York.
Thank you, New York. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
So many people owe their fucking careers to you.
Yeah.
Bret Michaels wouldn't be paying his mortgage right now if New York didn't go and show the fuck out on Flavor of Love and yell Beyonce, Beyonce, Beyonce into the screen while Hottie was trying to claim people think she's Beyonce. It's true. Bret Michaels and his hair plugs. Thank you, New York. Thank you. I'm just saying.
The highlight of Flavor of Love for me was the microwave chicken. Who did that?
Oh, of course. It was Hottie. Hottie, Hottie went in there. I think she put some marshmallows on that bitch, microwaved it, and then I think she put some ramen noodles. She did a lot. And then Flavor Flav and his lookalike mama, who is Flavor Flav in a wig, like, I'm not convinced that woman exists. That is Flavor Flav. And they're like, you're kidding, right? You weren't gonna serve this to my mom. Yes, she was, Flav. She was. She was gonna serve it to your mama.
I got salmonella watching that. I bet
you did. We all did. We're all recovering.
Oh, mercy. Okay. But this is gonna air just in time for my 6th anniversary of podcasting tomorrow. So I couldn't ask for a better guest. Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Thank
6
you.
years is a long time. The worst part about podcasting is that you got to keep doing it.
Yeah. And I keep doing
right?
it
You can't just make one episode and move on with your life.
Yeah. And I keep doing it being chronically ill and disabled. So it's like, I put a podcast tomorrow. My migraine goes, no, you're not. I get up and I'm like, I'm going to write that script. I can't walk. So I'm still here, baby.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you here for it. So
thanks.
You've talked on your podcast about reading some stuff too early, being that library hog like I was. 20 books isn't too much. You're only 3 feet tall. I got them.
Exactly. I love that.
When did you start reading?
I started reading when I was 3. Mostly because my mom is a reader as well. And my mom was like, I don't have time to be reading these baby books. I'm reading over here. You need to figure this out. And that's essentially what I did. She did not teach me how to read.
Yeah.
I'm old. So books, remember those read along books where they put a tape in and they go when they want you to change the page?
Yeah,
I had like millions of those. And one of my favorite ones was a novelization of the movie Gremlins. It's which is literally the best Christmas movie in the world. And so that is how I learned how to read.
Yeah, we don't know how I learned how to read. I was around 2, and my pediatrician handed me a Dr. Seuss book, and I read it to him, and my mom's like, "Oh, that's so cute. She memorized it." And he's like, "This is memorization." And then he handed me a pamphlet, and I read that, and she's like, "Oh, I'm spooked." So we have no idea. Yeah. And I had books.
Is your mom a reader as well?
Yes, she is. So maybe I was just copying mama. But my books on tape were books on record. We checked them out. They were little, small records, but it had the small hole in the middle instead of the fat, single.
Yeah.
And that's my picture on my website where I joke, this is how long I've been podcasting. I'm listening to my little book on record. It is time to turn the page when you hear this.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think kids just aren't gonna have that. I mean, I guess you can do that digitally, but I mean, they just don't do that anymore.
No, attention spans have changed.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about it, but what did you read, quote unquote, too early? I know some of your library stories from your podcast.
Well, listen, I am the number one library villain and lover at the same time because I spent so much time in the library. I would be annoying librarians, be in fights with them. I'd steal books from the library. You can check them out. You don't have to steal them. But I was over my limit, and depending on which librarian was there, some of them could be real dicks about it.
Yeah.
And others are just just take the fucking books. My big dream, my mother used to take me to the library. I'll start there because we could not afford to have a million books. So my mom would just take me there. They also had children's programming. So my mom would just fucking leave and come back 4 hours later. And I would just be reading.
Yeah.
Didn't care. My brothers would be livid. They would be ready to call CPS on her. Me, I'd be like, I hope she never comes back. And so and so she would take me, and I just loved it there. And I told my mother one of my big dreams in life was to have a library on my street so I can get to it myself. And when I was about 10ish, we moved to a place where the library was at the end of a small town on a small base, a small weapons base in Virginia. And the little library was at the end of our street. And suddenly I went as much as I wanted. And the librarians were like, you need to restrict her library access because this bitch shows up on lunch breaks, banging on the door, talking about, just let me in. And they were calling my house. They would be like, Princess, we got in these new books. You want to come down? And my mom was like, who is that? I'm like, oh, that's the librarians. I got to go because I have things to do. They need me down there. But so what happened is because I did not have, I read a lot and I didn't have guided people offering me books. It really got to the point where I was just I'm gonna read what I want. I started reading VC Andrews, obviously. Yeah, I read Kramer versus Kramer.
Oh,
when I was fucking 10 years old.
Wow.
I don't know why I wanted that book. Yeah. And I remember I was reading it at school, and the teacher was like, what the fuck are you reading? I'm this new cool book that was on the shelves at my library. And she's just oh my God, okay, I guess I can't control you. I read Rambling Rose, which features the movie features Laura Dern and her mom, Diane, what's her name?
Diane Lane.
But in the book, Ramblin' Rose is this kind of I don't know, she got the vapors and she just shows up places and just, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm Ramblin' Rose. And she decides to start working for this family. And the boy in the family is very sexually precocious,
Uh-huh.
and he peeps on her while she's getting dressed. And at one point, he has a sexual encounter with her in which she teaches him how to like stimulate her clitoris. And I was like 11, and that was statutory rape, which is also known as rape. And so, like, I was like, oh, oh. But at that point, I've been reading so much VC Andrews that I really wasn't super surprised because there was a rape in every VC Andrews
Yeah,
book.
pretty much. And then, of course, there's My
Yeah.
Sweet
So
Audrina.
those are type of books. Like, I wish you could see my hands right now shaking because and I also got really into Harlequin romance novels
Uh-huh.
when I was in the middle school, and I I still really do love to like wind down with like just a very predictable, right?
Yeah.
Little book that you could read in like fucking 2 hours.
Yeah. Just a good
Yeah. And my dad, I remember I was yeah, I remember I was at home reading a book. It was about okay. It was set in the bayou, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And, which is like type, they always love to set shit in like interesting places like that.
Yeah.
So it was in the bayou, and this woman was a cable access vampire. Think Elvira, okay?
Uh-huh.
But cable access,
Uh-huh.
right? So she would get on there, she'd be very sexy with her boobs all up and
Uh-huh.
stuff. But of course, when the cameras went off, she was just the girl next door,
Uh-huh.
And she was actually a little shy with men. Of course she is, because every heroine is.
Yeah.
And then, but she had met this very sexy bayou doctor who said things like "mon cher," and was like intrigued at the idea that she was so sexy on camera, but off camera she was just, she just like to read and wear her glasses. And I was reading this book, and my father comes in my room and goes, "What are you reading?" And I showed him, and he goes, "Does that book have pictures in it?" And I was like, "No, it doesn't have any pictures." And he leafed through it and he goes, "All right, well, I guess there were no pictures. I guess that's fine." Like, to him, it was only porn if it had pictures. The fact that I was like imagining all this sexy stuff going on, people's rosebuds being caressed over and over again, that sort of stuff, it was fine. It was just that he was like, as long as you don't see any pictures, that'll be, And so I read all those. I read the VC Andrews stuff where everyone got raped or molested, or everybody's mom and daddy died every 5 minutes. And I would do that, but I think this is just a function of, I used to get to, no one, like I said, no one checked my library books. No one questioned the fact that I was in the adult section of the library, and obviously in elementary school. Nobody asked,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents' rule was I could watch or read anything I wanted as long as it was legal. As long as I came to them with my questions instead of my grab ass little friends, So, and as long as they knew about it.
Excellent rule.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So I just go, "Hey,
such a good rule.
I'm gonna read My Sweet Audrina," and Mom would go, okay, ask me anything." And then she'd go in the den and probably laugh with Dad. Go, "This is gonna be bad." But yeah, so I read, let's see, I think I read Christine at 8. I had yeah. And I had an elementary school subscription to the Twilight Zone magazine. So you see how I turned out so weird.
Okay.
Explains a lot.
I do see that. It makes a lot of. I also so those types of books. One, they're easy to get to, right? Because they're all paperback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And libraries have a million of them because people donate shit like that all the time.
Yeah.
It's always somebody's mom's trashy novels. And it always featured a girl who was vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
and had lost either her mother or both parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were other people coming in their lives, and you know, I don't know, hypnosis, you know, a bunch of stuff would happen. And these are all things that, as a young preteen and teen girl, these are things I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You can draw a straight line from this to true crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Just and so this is like I know they weren't made for us, but they were made for us. They were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm looking at the Wikipedia for My Sweet Audrina because I'm like trying to remember everything that happened. And I forgot this featured brittle bone disease. It's like a real thing. And I can see myself watching like a TV movie, and like someone coming up with brittle bone disease, and might be like, yeah, I know all about that because I read about it.
Well, yeah, we learned a lot of medical stuff from these books. Kramer versus Kramer is where I learned that women sometimes poop during delivery. First page.
Oh, okay.
You say, oh, that
I just want you to know that no one no one has ever had to explain to me what Munchausen by proxy is.
Yep.
Because many of my books feature and I think the difference now is that although kids find books, so I don't know if you know these books, they're Invisible, there are these books called like Invisible Life, As I Am. They're about gay men living in New York City, coming out of the closet and stuff. I read those in high school. And yeah, and there was too much for me too. I should not have been reading that shit.
Yeah.
But like now I don't have to, like I used to at the time, reading books was like would bring all this stuff to me.
Yeah.
That I did not have experience with. And now kids have the internet and TikTok. Like TikTok, I would have eaten up TikTok as a kid because I had so many questions about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that information was important to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like I blame my mom in a lot of ways too, because my mom loves to read books like Son of a Crack Queen, you know, Donald Gowan shit, like pimps and hoes down at the, like she loves shit like that, just crap.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. Nothing's crap, but like that's the type of stuff my mom likes. And she would read her Inquirers, and because I was such like a precocious reader, I would be sitting next to her and be like, can I read that too? So I'd read the Inquirer, and I'd be like fucking 7 years old and thinking it was a fucking newspaper and that these things were really happening. And like confirmed Michael Jackson is having sex with that monkey. It's confirmed. Like it was the same. It was the same as I sat down and watched the evening news. I'd be like, yep. I remember this one story of a very large man. Okay. They said he weighed 900 pounds and that he was burglarizing homes and stealing food out of them. They said he would sneak in there, 900 pounds. He would sneak into the homes. Okay. Through a window. How? I do not know. Okay. Like if you weigh 900 pounds, you're usually at that point, you're not mobile.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
And so you're not you're not scaling any fucking walls to get, especially when you just go to the store and get food. And so, but I believed it was happening because the Inquirer told me, and my mom let me read it. And I was terrified for weeks, because I was so sure that this medically disabled, handicapped man weighing 900 pounds and probably needs an oxygen tank as well would sneak into our home to get my morning cereal.
He's not tippy-toeing anywhere.
My Captain Crunch. Yeah, exactly. But the Inquirer said it, and that's a newspaper. It was my newspaper of record. So I believed it. And I just feel like my mom, like, so I'm a bit more my mom with her reading was her reading, right?
Yeah.
She read her books and she didn't give a fuck what I was reading. She was like, listen, as long now that you get the library by yourself, you're on your own, kid.
Yeah.
But for me, I really enjoy children's literature. And so I really know what my kids are reading. They're telling me about it right now. They're getting through the Animorphs series and they're like loving it. And so if we can go back in time, what my mother should have done is ask me what I was reading, because I would have told her about it with no shame whatsoever. And I wish that I had the relationship that you had, because you get to go and ask your mom about these wild things. And she's like, okay, so let me explain this to you. And me, I was like, just on my own, guessing and shit. And again, asking my dumb friends about it. And they would be like, where did you get that book?
I really did go ask. I went and asked my mom about the line in Christine, where the guy selling the car says there's nothing that smells better than new car except for pussy. And I had no idea what he meant. And I'm like, Mom, can you stop General Hospital for a minute? I have a question. And
General Hospital.
And she explained it to me. And then she probably called Dad at work and went, guess what just happened? I'm 9-year-old. And they probably had a great laugh, but she explained it to me.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
Now, Stephen King sells so many books, right? Obviously. But I'm convinced that so many people did not read Stephen King. They watched his movies. He's a pop culture person, but not a lot of people sat down and read the books. And Stephen King's books, his characters talk wildly, guys. His characters, first of all, there's always at least 3 racist people in there saying the N-word.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Always. And Stephen King's always like, I wouldn't say it, but most of my characters would. And then there's a lot of sex stuff in there.
Yeah.
I remember reading Needful Things, but I was a lot older and being like, yeah, there you go, Steve. There you go.
Yeah.
Just lots. If you guys go back and read it.
Oh boy.
I think you'll be very surprised that, like, it's not about it. So people think of Stephen King as horror, but he's also like shock. There's Stephen King is just VC Andrews in a Halloween costume. That's all it is.
Yeah, he understands that people are the monsters. You know?
Yes, and that's really what his stuff is about. And I cannot recommend enough, but I mean, you guys have to understand. I'm actually reading The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West again, right? And I'm rereading it. I thought I was going to go through the whole series, but then I remembered I get to a part, there's a little girl named Nor in this book, and some horrible thing happens to her. And there's an image of Nor after being imprisoned, and she's essentially gone feral.
Yeah.
And so they describe it as her like shaking her head and looking and her arms curled around her chains and stuff. And I got to the part and I was like, you know what? I don't have to finish this book again because this is very disturbing.
Yeah.
But that image I just gave you guys that disturbed me, there might be 5 or 6 of those in a Stephen King book. There really are. It is like it's and he's, I don't think people realize how blue he works. Like people really just think of him as like a guy who tells scary stories about scary clowns and whatnot. But I mean, there's a lot of sex in his books. There's a lot of nasty things that happen. It is like, I mean, I don't want to harp on it, but I was scared of balloons for a really long time.
Yeah. I think I think his miniseries is the reason our generation is scared of clowns. That and Poltergeist.
Maybe. I don't remember the clown in Poltergeist.
It's the clown doll.
Oh, all right. You're right.
Yep.
I also think a lot of clowns are redheaded.
Yeah.
And just in general, people do not enjoy redheaded men. Okay. They just don't. In every romance novel, the third, every 1 out of 3 romance novels, the woman is redheaded. But there are no redheaded men in media because people, unless it's Chucky, people don't do with redheaded men. And I think that has a lot to do with our fear of clowns. Also, clowns are wearing a mask.
Yep.
You don't know who they are inside. This is why I don't like nuns. I'm terrified of nuns, guys. I don't. They're covered head to toe, and I just believe they know some shit I don't know. I don't know what's underneath there. I'm terrified of nuns. I used to live in a neighborhood in Chicago where the nuns would always be like panhandling in front of the grocery store. And my husband, if he saw the nuns out front, he'd be like, I guess we can't go to the grocery store today, huh? I was like, no, I want to go back. I want to go back. And it's just I think the scary part is the idea of I don't know. And I think that's what we get from clowns and also redheaded men.
Yeah. And then we had John Wayne Gacy in our youth, or at least in my youth.
That's right, John Wayne Gacy.
Like, what do you mean he was
famous?
Yeah,
the most famous evil clown.
Yeah, what do you mean he was entertaining children? No. What do you mean he saw the first lady? No. Ugh.
This is so rude. But anybody who voluntarily works with children, I'm always like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I know.
Yeah, you're not getting paid.
Even teachers, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But as soon as someone's like, I work with children for a living, I'm like, I get my good eye on you. And that's because I read a lot of things with children getting molested as a child.
Yep.
I want to pick up some of these books now. It's like, I could probably download these onto my Kindle like today. I want to read some of this shit again.
My job here is done.
Yeah, you got me spiraling towards being there a lot of like horror books that are just like also very soapy. I'm forgetting the names of them now. I'm not talking about Christopher Pike because Christopher Pike was R.L. Stine. I mean, there are a couple of other ones that would always be like you find out about midway through that like you've been sent to live with your aunt and uncle for the summer, and then you find out they're like a member of a satanic cult and they plan on like sacrificing you.
John Saul's one of those. John Saul.
That's
for the children.
That's exactly what the fuck I was thinking about.
Yep. And then of course,
oh my goodness,
there's the zebra horror. You know, they'd have the black covers and then like a child holding a doll that has a skull face. They sold them in grocery stores.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm unlocking trigger memories, aren't I?
I was supposed to. Yeah, you are, because I was supposed to be babysitting. Listen, I was the worst babysitter in the world. People should not have hired me. I was bad at it. I got fired all the fucking time. But my daddy got me this babysitting gig, and in the summer with somebody in his like battalion or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so I would go and watch the kids, but they had a lot of John Saul books in there. So I would just fucking read through the books, and like I'd be reading so fucking hard, Carla, so fucking hard. I'd look up, the kids were gone, they'd left the house, and I'd be like, oh shit, where are those kids I'm supposed to be watching? And they were like, we were hungry, you weren't listening to us, so we went down the block. I'm like, we gotta get back at the house, guys, I gotta finish my book, and also like, I can give you something to eat when we get there. I did not get fired from that job, but I should have, because all I did was read their fucking books. And oh my goodness, just like these memories.
Yeah, you need to read. My friend Grady Hendrix, the horror author, has put together a book called Paperbacks from Hell, and he's preserving all these old pulpy horror books from the 80s and 90s and 70s.
Okay.
You know, the zebra.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. He's got a website dedicated to it.
The succubus of the accursed Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna get this. These are all like these. There's the spawn, and there's like an evil baby,
Yes.
and there's a picture of the baby. There's an evil baby, and he's got a man in a jar.
Yes.
So I already know what happens. That baby takes over. Oh. Um, so books like these are like direct cousins of like what's the show that used to be on HBO with the Crypt Keeper?
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt,
Yes.
things like that.
Yeah.
And think that, guys. So if you haven't read those types of books, they're they are outrageous, but also kind of funny. Like
Yeah.
I don't find them scary because you're like, what? The baby popped straight out of their stomach and clawed its way out. Like it's stuff like that. You're like, what the fuck?
There's a hospital with no other patients in it. What?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't go in that room. Don't go in the room. This is the type of thing I would spend up all my summers. I loved like my parents never put me in like camp and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really couldn't afford it. And so what I do is I'd walk to the library and I would just get a ton of books and I'd be reading all day and night. I get my little snacks and whatnot. And I could be reading till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the fucking morning, just plowing through these types of books. And I didn't have a care in the fucking world. I didn't have anywhere to be. I could go to sleep as soon as I got tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one of the zebra books vividly. I bought it on the way to us going to the beach, and the evil child was actually named Lucian. Oh, you mean like Lucifer? Good job.
You did it. You wanted that kid to be evil. Why would you name him Lucian? If your name is Lucian, you have no choice. You must be evil. It's the rules. I didn't make them up. So, I mean,
What did you do on your summer vacation?
can I tell you?
What?
Can I tell you that as someone who reads everything and loves, always has a book, my mom taught me to bring a book in my purse.
Yeah.
Wherever I fucking went. Like, because you never know when this shit'll get boring. Just get your book out.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
I was taking the China bus from New York City to Virginia Beach. And I did not have a book. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to fucking do? I go to the store. I see this book. It says bestseller, all those other things. It's called Twilight. I was like, all right, I'll get this book. All right. So I get the book. It was so bad that I just put it down and stared out the window for like an 8.5 hour drive. Do you know how bad it is for me to be like, I'm just not going to read this. I just can't do with it. And I had not heard anything about Twilight. I'm not someone who like really follows like book news and stuff because I tend to find that I want like that like whether or not something's a bestseller and things like that has no bearing on whether I want to actually read it.
Yeah.
And so I don't really bother with that. So I was like, I think I've heard of this book. But obviously it was a runaway fucking bestseller. Yeah. There was no movie yet, but it was so fucking big. And like I was like, I could try it out. I love vampires, and big fan of the Blade trilogy. I'll do this. Mm-hmm. And this was not the Blade trilogy. And I just, this was not Anne Rice, baby. This is not Anne Rice. And so I was like, this is very, very, very bad. I left the book on the bus. I never leave books places. I take them with me. I take your books too. I will just, I'm a book hoarder. There's no fucking way I would leave a book somewhere on fucking purpose. And guess what? I left it on the bus. I was like, I can't deal with it.
There's a great TikTok where the person points out how many times just in the first book Edward chuckles. And I think it's like 40 times. The writing.
And I haven't seen the movies. Was he chuckling in the movies?
No. He was all broody and sparkly. I've seen the first one. Yeah, broody and sparkly and stalky. He breaks.
That's the whole problem.
Yeah, he breaks in a room and watches her sleep. It's so creepy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's like, you look beautiful sleeping last night. She's like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You must love me.
What? Wait, why did he want to see her sleeping? Just to watch her because he wanted her?
Yeah, and because he doesn't sleep. He doesn't have a bed in his room.
How
So
how
his
very
family,
John Wayne Gacy of him.
yeah, he entertains himself by going to high school over and over. He actually has this big framed thing. It's like 20 by 36, and it's all his graduation sashes from over the years. Ew.
What?
Yeah.
This
He could be curing cancer, but instead he's just going to high school over and over again. Because high school girls, I guess.
guys, there are so many more better vampire books and witch books and things like that than that. Anne Rice has the Witches of Mayfair that's really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, Interview with the Vampire stuff. The Southern Vampire series, which is what True Blood's based on. Charlene Harris, a fucking goat. Like her books are amazing, and she also has like they're cozy mysteries with vampires in them. That's really all they are. I love a fucking cozy mystery, but like they're so much better. And me as a reader who steals books, I used to steal books from bookstores. I would go into the bookstore, shove books down my pants and leave with them because I wanted them so badly. I stole books from my school. At one point, my middle school teacher forced me to open my locker, and I had procured like 7 math textbooks. Why? Why did I want all these algebra textbooks? I don't even fucking remember. And so when I tell you I refuse to take a book with me, you should listen to me. I could have been arrested many times over books.
I'm gonna call this episode "Solving for the Value of X." I swear. Oh man.
But yeah, I just like, so because I read all those books too early, I was reading Stephen King, I was reading things that did not have any value in my actual real life, but except to give me the knowledge that I could be kidnapped at any moment, and I would definitely be molested as soon as I've been kidnapped. And also make sure my mom was healthy, because if she died, I'm getting molested immediately. So like, so like I was just on guard. And so like what that like made me was just something I don't like now as an adult, but a precocious child. I just had a lot of ideas and thoughts and more information and not a lot of context of that information. So like I read Catcher in the Rye when I was in middle school by myself. Nobody told me to read this book. At the time I read Brian Jack's series Mouseflower, and I read a bunch of those and Catcher in the Rye. And guess which one I liked more? Yes.
Catcher in the Rye.
The one with the talking mice in it. Not definitely not the Catcher in the Rye. I fucking hated it. I could not understand why I was supposed to give a fuck about this dude. I remember being in high school and they were like, yeah, we're gonna read Catcher in the Rye. I was like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, Holden Caulfield is an asshole, and I don't like, he doesn't even deserve to have a book written about him. And I remember my literature teacher like kind of just sitting down and like, Princess, you're a fast reader, you read widely, you're always interested in the stories, and that's great, but you have tackled a lot of text that maybe you shouldn't have been reading at the time, and so you don't have any context for it. You had no like guide for it. At this point I'd read so many Shakespearean plays and stuff, and I was like, Shakespeare sucks. And it's just like, but you don't have anybody guiding you through things. And then she told me something that like really fucked with me for a long time. She's like, and nobody gives a fuck if you don't like Shakespeare. Shakespeare has made his bones. He has made his mark in the world, and you haven't. And so you're over here criticizing people that have done things you can't even do, and you should think very carefully before you criticize someone that's doing something you can't do. And I was like, what? And I never fucking forgot that like it doesn't matter if I literally doesn't matter if I hate Twilight, because Twilight doesn't need to prove shit to me because it's done its thing already.
Yeah.
I don't have to like it, but like me saying I hate it, who gives a fuck? And that really put, so when she gave me that perspective, because at that point I'd read things like The Princess Bride when I was really young, and like that sort of stuff, and I enjoyed The Princess Bride, but I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Because lots of things flew over my fucking head. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never.
Did you have the same experience?
Yeah, I remember very early, I think I was about 3. Mom took me to what would be my elementary school and said, she is so smart, we don't know what to do with her. And so they IQ tested me and they said, oh, we agree. And so they gave me reading lists and kind of planned for me to show up in a couple of years. And then she did it again when I was like 10 with a English professor that lived in our neighborhood. And she's like, I think she should be reading more widely than our library can contain, because we had this little small town library. She's literally boring herself, she read it all. And so she gave me the list of her freshman English class. So I started reading Frankenstein and Catcher in the Rye and Great Gatsby and all that stuff. And I didn't have any guidance because some of that stuff Mom hadn't read and Dad hadn't read, because Dad had an engineering degree, mechanical engineering, and Mom didn't go to college. And so she eventually went and got a paralegal degree, but she wasn't reading that stuff either. So I was kind of on my own. And that reminds me of when I was younger, because I was known as being so smart, I thought I should know everything I was reading. So I would just plow through.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get the fork in the road joke in the Muppet movie, because I thought a fork in the road was a fork in the road. And boy, when I read somebody had a train on their dress in Nancy Drew book, I was like, God, that sounds ugly. Why would you have a picture of a train on the back of your dress? That just sounds so ugly.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Lots of things that I just didn't get. And because why would I? And also I want to say this is that, like, because I was praised for being able to communicate well and read fast and smart, because I knew so many things, it really became my identity as a kid. And I wish they hadn't done that to me specifically, because it really put me in a position where I thought I was smarter than everyone around me. And the older I've gotten, the more I value someone who takes time to read, because I could read, like, I could be done in minutes, but like sitting with the text and sitting with the story and asking questions and taking time, like, you get so much more from it than that. And at the time I was just like, I was a brat, and I was like, I am definitely a smart person, and anybody who's not smart, I don't know what to do with you. And I would be in class, and like, this is in younger elementary, and I remember telling the teacher, like, I do not want to read with you guys. You guys read slow. That kid can't read at all. And I don't know, were we supposed to be in the same classroom? and which is so fucking rude. But I thought I'd owned that. I was like, I thought I earned that I was allowed to say things like that. And this is why I stole some books from that school, because they would not let me read ahead. So I stole the book and I went home and read it in the middle of the night. Basically, any problems I had, I was like, I'll just steal something. But like, because people encouraged me with that, I feel like there are lots of things that I can't experience again for the first time. I just, one of my favorite authors is Robin McKinley. And she wrote The Hero and the Crown. And like she wrote Beauty, which is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it's actually like really fucking good. And we were reading The Hero and the Crown, and I just it's one of the first books that I picked up, and I was like, I wish I'd written this. I wish that I had thought of this idea, and I wish I had done this. And I I go back to it over and over and over and over again because I mean I do like fantasy novels, but also because I can't get back that moment when I first read it and I was rushing through it because I wanted to be the first person done and I wanted to prove how smart I was and I wanted to do all those things instead of just enjoying it, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes I I think sometimes more harm was done than good when I was like plowing through these books and things that weren't that just weren't meant for me.
Yeah. So what are you reading right now?
Okay, so I'm rereading the Wicked Witch of the West book,
Yeah.
right? That's what Wicked's I mean, you guys know
Yeah.
that's what Wicked's based on, that
Yeah.
book. And the first time I read that, girl, I loved it because I just loved the cover that
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is, you didn't get her side of the story and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I love stuff like that. And so I'm rereading that. So I just finished the Bridgerton volume 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got like 80 books in the bitch. And also, and I so this is what I find comforting about Bridgerton. I don't watch the show. I don't find the show that great.
Yeah.
The show's fine, don't get me wrong, but I like the books, and the reason is they are so fucking predictable, which is what you want in a romance, in a Regency romance novel. You want it to be predictable.
Yeah.
And I love the idea. Do you know VC Andrew was born in Portsmouth? That is right
Yeah.
near where I was born.
That's right.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I wonder if her parents were in the military because there's a big naval hospital. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. There's a picture of VC Andrew on my computer right now, and that's why I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" Oh, that is her. and and her name is Cleo Virginia. I didn't know that either.
Uh-huh.
Cleo Virginia Andrews. Okay, VC. All right. Anyway, so I'm reading the Bridgerton stuff, and I don't know if you know this about me, Carla,
Uh-huh.
but my favorite book in the world that I will go back to every time are the Anne of Green Gables books.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I I know, and like I'm not even like a sweet person, but Anne of Green Gables, she when Matthew dies. Anyway, I love that those series, and I own all of them, obviously. But like, I go back to that book all the time, and I don't always start at the beginning.
Mhm.
I just open the bitch and
Yeah.
like just start reading it because I know it so well. Like I don't need to.
Yeah.
It's just I yeah, and like she just she's the reason I use the words kindred spirit all the
Uh-huh.
time. She, she's the one that like said that it's so much easier to look forward to things than to like worry about them. I obviously don't take that advice, but
Yeah.
like I try. I definitely got a kid drunk just like she did Diana, and I hadn't read those books yet though, so I was like when I read it, I was like, oh girl, me too. I definitely gave someone some Kool Aid. I thought it was Kool Aid, but it was not. And so those books are like I'm always in the middle of reading one of those. And my next big thing is that my favorite books are the Myth Inc. Series by Robert Asprin. I love that series. It's basically a buddy comedy thing with lots of puns and lots of like lots of like innuendos and stuff. It's
Uh-huh.
very funny. It's about a demon and a failed wizard's apprentice and them going through all these different worlds, and their best friend is a trollop, which is a woman on the in the troll dimension. All the men are trolls, all the women are trollops. The women are really hot and like you can always see their ass, and the men look like trolls. And so And there's like a magic baby, and it's basically a buddy comedy. And there are a lot of books. Robert asked him to stop writing them. I think he got old. The same way with VC Andrews. Like they wanted to keep it going, but obviously I don't think she could. And I mean, she died in 1986, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So, and I was reading them well after that. But so some of his later books are a little different, but there's like 13 in the series, and I believe when I'm done, I'm gonna put down the Wicked Witch book because I'm disturbed now.
Yeah.
When I'm done with my Bridgerton spank bank stuff, I'm gonna move on and reread that series, because I don't know, it's a tough world out there, you know, and sometimes nostalgia is comforting. It's so comforting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, I'm finally reading The Virgin Suicides, because every time I thought about it, I was like, things are too tough right now. They kill themselves, you know. But I'm so glad I picked it up, because I loved Middlesex. And
is it how big is it?
It's not overwhelming. I don't know exactly how thick it is, because it's on my iPad. It's an ebook, but it's really interesting. It's from the point of view of their guy neighbors, and they're telling you about the evidence they've kept. Like, here's, you know, evidence number 10. This is a photograph of the front of their house, you know, and we kept so-and-so's sneakers, and, you know, we have this. And they're trying to piece together their teenagehood with these girls to figure out what happened. They're middle-aged, but they're still trying to figure it out. And it's actually funny in parts. It's really sweet. It's not maudlin like you would think it would be.
Okay.
So,
and I'm sure, like, I'm a firm believer that the book is always better than the movie. I can't really think of a movie I enjoy better than the book. And so I often try to read the book before I actually see the movie, right? Because I don't want to be ruined by, you know what I mean? You know, it's just so hard to, because you're like, that is not what that character looks like. I don't know where y'all got that shit from. So I bet you it's probably, you're making it sound like it's like really, really good. And
I think he's coming from the point of, rather than a miserable family, from the point of view of suicidal contagion, you know, which is a thing. You know, when people read about it or see it, then
it is true.
It gets in their head, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've seen Heathers. I know all about that. I don't know who your audience is. I don't know, but I'm sure a lot of them are like, what the fuck is Heathers?
Y'all need to watch Heathers right now. It is relevant today.
Slater. Yes, go watch it right fucking now. Go watch it. Christian Slater's great. He was great in Dr. Robot.
He's great in everything.
And also, guys, there was a movie called Gleaming the Cube that Christian Slater was in. It was about a rogue like skateboarder, and he obviously didn't do his stunts. So someone wearing like a Christian Slater wig, like his hair was blonde and spiky, and it was like a wig, would do the stunts, and like obviously was not him. Like, so fucking obvious. And then they cut to someone watching going, oh my God, he's so good. And then it cut back to him and he'd be like, yeah, I just did that stunt. It's so like, just go watch Heathers, watch Gleaming the Cube, do that right now.
The Legend of Billie Jean. Fair is fair.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. I know we're talking about books, but like, we got to talk about these things.
Yes, we do. How many networks did you run to, Heather?
And after you watch Gleaming the Cube, watch Airborne, which is a movie about a guy who does skateboard tricks as well. And it's got Seth Green in it. And it's basically them. You guys know, Airborne is a really good movie. It's got a very delicate boned man in it who is doing tricks, and that's it. He changes the town with his skateboard tricks.
With his 5'1" skateboard tricks, huh?
Yes, he was so little. But it came on HBO a lot when I was a kid, and I didn't have any supervision, so
yep.
I had to watch it. So
yep.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Carla.
And I'm also taking online classes. This very nice man named Christopher Frizzell has Frizzlet classes, and you take them over Zoom. He's actually going to be doing Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin in June. And right now, yeah, I'll send you a link. And right now we're reading Virginia Woolf.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, he's reading. We're reading To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, and I'm trying very, very hard to understand Emily Dickinson. So I've got one on Monday and one on Thursday. I'm like, help me understand her punctuation.
If you figure it out, please come tell me. Please come tell me if you figure it out. Because I don't know. I always felt like a little bad about it, because she's just not, I don't know. That's just not my thing. Yep. And it feels like it should be my thing, right?
Yeah.
These things feel like they should be my thing, because they all, like, the stories have the things that I like in them. Like, if you put them on paper, I'd be like, yep, I'm into that, I'm into that, I'm into that. When you put them together, I'm like, I am not into this. I don't know why. No.
And I just put down The Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. I really wanted to finish it, but so much of it seems to require you understanding chess, and there's so much beer drinking that I'm not triggered by that, but it was getting to me. Drinking beer like water, and it seemed to be so important to the plot, and so important to the plot. And it was just like, I'm 6 hours into this audiobook. I have 6 more hours to go. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Well, I commend you, and everyone listening to this too. You guys do not finish books you don't want to. Life is short.
Yeah.
You do not have to be a completionist, and it's not even a failing of the book. To be honest, I mean, on some of these, they were failings of the book.
Yeah.
But like, reading is supposed to be enjoyable, and if you're not having a good time for whatever reason, just put the shit down. No one's gonna know, and no one's gonna be mad at you.
Yeah.
Just put it down.
Yeah, and I kept arguing with myself. I'm like, Walter Tevis gave us The Color of Money, The Hustler, The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Oh yeah.
This is important. And then I'm like, yeah, but it's a lot of beer drinking and chess moves I don't understand. And no.
Yeah.
No.
Queen Sugar was like that. I really liked the show, but the book was it's about a Black family in Louisiana. They inherit this sugarcane farm, and like the interpersonals of the family. The book, the TV is great. The show is great. So this might be the example I have that I did not enjoy the book, and it's because they would go pages and pages and pages on how to grow sugarcane, and I was like, no one is reading this to actually go grow sugar. Like, I love that the author knows how to do it.
Yeah.
But this is information we don't need. I don't need this. And when it's really about this family and how they find out that the people trying to steal their sugarcane farm were actually their family owned their family when they and they all have these individual things that are going on. It's so good. And yet here you are cutting these great scenes with people doing more farming. This is not an instructional manual.
No.
And it sounds like that's what your problem with Queen's Gambit is too much chess.
Yeah. It did feel instructional. Like, you too can play like her.
And I don't want to.
No.
I can't. Did you like the show when it came out, Queen Sugar? I'm not Queen Sugar. Queen's Gambit?
I haven't watched it. I love the actress, Anna Taylor-Joy.
Okay, if you decide to put it down. That's
yeah.
okay. Go watch the show.
Okay, the show's better.
The show's better.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I never read the according to you, it is, because you're telling me that it's just Night to Rook 3 and over again.
Chugging beer and water, like water.
Yeah, I will say this. I could tell a man wrote it when I was watching it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
But I can tell a man wrote it. I can tell, because she's just like, I'm gonna play chess and I'm gonna fuck this guy. And then I don't know, I like playing chess with this dude. Let me fuck him too. You know what? I got a chess meet. Gonna go do that and also fuck someone here. And I'm like fully fine with that.
Yeah.
And like, fuck who you want. Like, and I'm like all for that. But the motivation, sometimes I'm like, why do you want to fuck him? You don't even like him and you beat him in chess like 60 times.
Yeah.
Why would you want to have sex with him? And so I could tell a man wrote it. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. Yeah. I did enjoy it a lot. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. Have you seen Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? Are you going to?
I am thinking about it. The thing is that like, I obviously, the book was very old by the time I got to it, obviously, because they were wearing like period pad belts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that's one thing I did ask my mom about. I was like, why is she got a belt on? And she's like, what does that have to do with your period? She's like, oh, they used to give you a contraction. It would be like how how people sometimes would have like headgear for their braces. It's basically that for your period. Oh, modern inventions, thank God. Anyway. Well, but like obviously the books are really important to me. Yeah. Like, because anyone will tell you this who's ever read them. They're one of the few books that spoke directly to us.
Yeah.
Like to girls. And, sure. I also had the Babysitter's Club, which is, I read all those books. My daughter's reading them now, not the comic books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's reading the actual textbooks.
Yeah.
The ones that actually have all the text, and they moderned them up because they definitely in those books they were like dialing. When you dial the letters instead of the area code.
Yeah.
Also not a thing when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I had to ask my mom, like, what the fuck does this mean? But like I used to, the Babysitter's Club was obviously there. It's the whole reason I joined that babysitting gang, whole fucking reason, and had my first lesbian relationship and all through that babysitting gang. And so, but like, Are You There, God? Was talking, it's a lot like My So-Called Life, the interior lives. It wasn't just like a little story. It was stuff that people don't talk to us about.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Is it in theaters or is it on I just saw a commercial for it.
Yeah, it's in theaters right now. I went to the early premiere at Alamo Drafthouse with my mom, and it's perfect. What they did, the only thing they did to update it is instead of using the belts, they went to the really thick pads with the stickers. So they kept it in the 70s, but they didn't use the belts. But Judy Blume.
Yeah, because everyone would have been like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. But Judy Blume approved. And she's She's actually in the movie as one of Margaret's neighbors with her husband. You see her walk down the street.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna recognize her.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And,
Kathy Bates.
Yeah, Kathy Bates plays Grandma, Sylvia Simon, and she's cute as a button.
Okay. Maybe I'll go see it. I don't know. I'll go see it. Maybe should I take my kid? I should take my kid. She's 10. She's
Margaret's age. So yeah. Margaret's 11 when it starts.
Take her, and she's gonna definitely have a lot of questions about the 70s. And I'm gonna be like, listen, I was not alive in the 70s, but I was definitely reading books from the 70s. Let me explain to you what that thing on the wall is. It's called a phone. And it's
and that's macrame.
I was just thinking about how my kids don't know how to write cursive. How my kids don't know how to write cursive at all. Like,
they could not rhyme writing.
It's not a thing. And yeah. And And like sometimes, I mean, I was thinking about it, I was like, and why do they need to know it? To be completely honest, they can print. And
Yeah,
I mean, I love cursive, I love writing and stuff like
yeah.
that, but that's because I'm old and I used to write by hand things, and I have good handwriting, but they don't really need to worry about that. So I don't know.
Yeah, but that's so
We'll
weird.
see. Yeah, I think I should go see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
at Alamo beforehand, they show stuff that's related to the movie if you go early, and they were showing old period
Okay.
commercials, and it was great.
Of course. Of course. I love that part of the Alamo.
Uh,
Um, I am a big fan of superhero movies, and whenever I go watch a superhero movie there, it's the first before the movie, it's always just a bunch of film of people in like Spider-Man costumes twerking and just like obviously like not English language, and it's like these are not like um licensed costumes. Someone made them at home, and why are they twerking? And then why are they running through a grocery store? Oh,
Spider-Man's acting
did they do
weird.
the we must increase our bust in the
Yes,
movie?
yes, aggressively.
Okay. All right.
And,
Okay. You know what? You told me I'm gonna go see.
yes, and they made one of the four friends black. So there's representation.
Well, that's great. So
Yeah,
we got some color in it. You
yeah,
know, I hope she gets some lines.
yeah. She does. She does.
Okay, good. All right, that's cool. I'm definitely gonna go see it. Maybe I'll take Bunny on Sunday.
Oh,
And
cool.
she's like dying to get her period. She's dying to get it. She's always like, I think I got my period. I'm like, no, you need to change your underwear. This has nothing to do with that. Like anytime your underwear looks different does not mean you got your period.
Bless her
Because
heart.
she's one of those fans of those teenage movies, so she's
Yeah,
like ready. So now that I think about it, she hasn't read this. I'm not sure that like it's her reading level. She's a little behind in reading levels.
yeah.
So, but it would be nice to take her to the movie because I don't know. If you're a girl, if you're a girl and you were like born before 1990, this was an important book.
Yeah, exactly. And the great thing is that it talks about how you don't want it until you get it. I mean, don't hurry up.
Oh, you want it until you get it. Right.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. You
exactly.
want it, and then
And then you get it. And then it's very
yeah,
pleasant.
yeah. And then you're like, when is this gonna stop? I was talking to my mom, was like, when am I gonna get into menopause? But my mom had like a full hysterectomy. She was like in her early 20s. So
Yeah.
she like I can't like even go by what she was. Yeah, she's like, I don't know. It's been a long time. And she's like, I think you're like fucking 15 years away from it. I'm like, what? What?
Enjoy.
She's like people, yeah, she's like people sometimes don't go through menopause. I don't know. I always thought you go to menopause at like 39. That was stupid. And so my mom's like, no, you have like you might have 20 years. You don't fucking know. And I was like, ah. But yeah, you want it, and then you got it, and you got to deal with it.
Yep.
Ugh.
So just enjoy.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
stopping that
All
train.
right. You convinced me. Bunny thanks you. She doesn't know it yet, but she thanks you. We're going to the movies.
Auntie Carla.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I know you're working today. So do you want to call it here?
Yeah, I gotta work for a living.
Yeah.
They keep threatening me. They keep being like, hey, if you don't do this work, we're not gonna pay you. And I'm like, what the fuck is that about? I thought we were friends. You bullies.
Some shit.
So yeah, I'm gonna finish working and then I have to make a pot roast and then I gotta tell Bunny we're going to the movies.
All right. Best part of the day. Next to this.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Carla, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
absolutely. Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
Guys, you can follow me on the interwebs at OK Then Princess. Here's the thing, I'm pretty private right now on all my accounts because I got some people fired and I gotta lay low. But I will. It's always some shit. It's always some shit with me. Babysitting gangs, stealing books, getting people fired. I just like, I'm incorrigible. But you can find me on my podcast. It's for the free feed episode every Sunday. You can follow that podcast on Instagram at By Pumpkin Podcast. And yeah, right now I'm doing Real World Las Vegas,
Cool.
which was the last, yeah, it's the last one I watched because even though I'm the exact same old age as all the people there, I was like, I'm too old for this shit. I'm too old to just like meet somebody on a Thursday and have like a orgy with them on like Friday. I'm just too old for this shit. And
You're not.
and so
You're not
I want to
forks at
revisit
people?
it.
You're not throwing forks.
No,
at
I'm not
people?
throwing forks at people. I have a healthy, as an adult, I have a healthy fear of going to jail. So like
That's good.
as a child, not so much, but as an adult, like let's not throw any weapons at people and stuff like that. But but yeah, so I'm really excited about finishing that up, and I just started, but I'm excited to revisit and remember if the real world was as batty as I remember.
Was. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm coming back, right? Hint, hint.
Yes. Yes, you are. And I was just talking about it on an episode. I was like, talking about my guest and how I have so much fun with them. And I was like, and Carla, I'm going to be on hers and she's going to be mine. And I was like, I got to text Carla back. And then afterwards, people messaged me and were like, did you text Carla? And I was like, I forgot.
That's right. Stick up.
But you're definitely coming on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Ask me back. Ask me back.
Absolutely. You have to come back after you read Paperbacks from Hell.
You know what? It's a date.
All right. Maybe I can get Grady to come on and we can do three-way gossip about it.
Let's do it.
All right.
I want to talk about that baby on that cover because I'm like, some shit is going on with that.
Yeah, we'll call it Baby in a Jar.
That's good.
All right. Report back to me about going to the movie.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. See you, Princess. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. See ya. Bye.